I bought a security camera and hid it in the living room the morning I decided to confront her. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Zone Stories. Today we have a story where this woman got infected by a disease, and she infected her husband as well. Let's see what happened afterwards. I am livid. The only person I have had bedroom activity with within the past 5 years has been my wife. I thought I had a bladder infection or UTI, and scoffed when my doctor thought it was chlamydia. Well, here we are. I got the test results yesterday and I have chlamydia. Decided to start snooping, and it didn't take long to find the text messages between her and her boy toy. My guess is she doesn't even know she had it as well. She thinks I stayed up all night working. But little does she know I've already emailed her little lover boy's wife all the text messages. I warned the lover boy's wife that he's been sleeping with an infected woman and to get herself tested. I'm still deciding how to process this all, but wifey's going to wake up to my positive test results and the messages of her infidelity. The sun should be coming up in the next hour or two, and probably will be the end of this marriage. Edit. I'll make a longer update eventually. I didn't confront her that morning. Boy toy's wife ended up responding to me, and she has not confronted her husband yet either. I'm getting my legal bases covered first. I had gotten into contact with the co-worker's wife, giving her evidence of what was going on, and informing her that the two cheaters probably both had chlamydia. I did this because I suspected my wife was cheating with more than one person. In her texts, her lover boy had asked her if he was the only one she was screwing at the time, and she gave a non-answer. I know this dumb broad well enough that I knew she was screwing someone else as well. Luckily, the co-worker's wife got back to me first thing in the morning to explain that she figured he was seeing someone else. The two of them were privately separated at the time, and their separation agreement stated they were not to see anyone else at the time. She had her own suspicions and thanked me for reaching out. We agreed that she would not confront her husband until I could cover my own stuff legally in exchange for the evidence I had of their affair together. She also confirmed to me that her husband didn't have chlamydia, at least when they were still together. I decided to not confront my wife that morning. I pretended everything was fine and dandy while I looked for lawyers and dug deeper to figure out the mystery of the chlamydia caper. I installed a keylogger on my wife's personal PC and quickly got access to a secret email, where guess what? My wife was talking with someone on a hookup website. The best part was that it solved the mystery, as the man informed her he tested positive for chlamydia, and that she probably had it. Even better, these emails were from months before I was infected myself, meaning she knowingly infected me with chlamydia. Disappointed that it was not in fact the chlamydia fairy that caused all this, I have a lawyer. It's not looking well for my soon-to-be ex. The fact she knowingly infected me made my lawyer salivate, along with the mountain of proof of her infidelity. The house we live in is my parents', and we've kept our finances separate since the beginning. Her chances of getting much, if anything, out of me is pretty slim. I served her the divorce papers last month. I bought a security camera on Amazon when this all started, saying I was going to put it over our front door. I hid it in the living room the morning I decided to confront her. I decided to take one of the top comments from my first post on how to drop this on her. We were sitting and having breakfast when I said, "So, I'm curious, does co-worker know you infected him with chlamydia as well?" The short of it was she cried, apologized, tried to claim it was a one-time thing. I brought up that this was her second affair, tried to claim she loved me, tried to blame me, screamed at me that I don't make her feel loved, yada yada, you get it. I served her the divorce papers and her eviction notice right after. I'm staying with my parents until she's out of the house in a few weeks just to be safe. I'm juggling if I want to try and press assault charges against her for knowingly infecting me with chlamydia, as my lawyer said it should be pretty easy to prove with the emails we have. Overall though, I just want her out of my life like the STD she is. I think that he should press charges but also contact the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on her as well. She knowingly had chlamydia from one of her lovers and willing infected him and the affair partner without telling either of them. He got infected and the affair partner's wife was at risk of getting infected if he hadn't said anything. She could have spread it to more people. What she did is absolutely a crime. She deserves to be reported to the police in your local health department. She absolutely may have infected other people. You should probably your lawyer if you have opened yourself up to criminal or civil liabilities as well. Having evidence is great, but in many places can be illegal to essentially violate a person's privacy. If you're in the US, please be aware that some states have very strict laws about consent to audio recordings, even more so for video recordings. Hiding cameras and recording inside your shared residence without informing or getting consent from the other resident can get you into trouble if the other person wants to press charges. Be aware of what's recording, especially if any videos contain your wife when she's not fully dressed or in any state, activity that can be considered intimate or vulnerable. This could open you up to crimes of another nature. Installing key logging software on someone else's device when you are not the owner is another possible problem. She has definitely wronged you in many ways. Just be aware that your evidence of her wrongdoings can also be evidence of your possible crimes related to invasion of privacy, impersonation, or anything centered around malicious entry, use, and alterations to her devices and accounts. I hope things gets better for you soon. So sorry for all your heartbreak. I just hope you don't burn yourself in the process of settling everything. My wife and I have been together for over 9 years, married for just under 3. Everything has been great between us except things in the bedroom, which died about 6 years ago after she changed her meds. Since then it's been essentially a dead bedroom, with bedroom activity maybe once every 8 months on average. It took us 4 months to have bedroom activity getting married. Every time we have his bedroom activity or done anything of a physical or overly affectionate nature, she has been drunk or mildly buzzed. She refuses completely when sober. We're not big drinkers by any means, and she knows the drunk only thing really bothers me. We had talked about it a lot. She said she felt guilty, wanted to wait to be married, didn't want her deceased grandparents to disapprove. She was raised Salvation Army but is not religious. After we got married, that turned to being tired, not in the mood, or that it hurt too much. We tried a number of things like lube and toys, which seemed to work in the moment, but never had any lasting impact. A year after we got married, she vowed to go to counseling, and I said I would not bring it up again until she was ready or wanting. She'd have to engage. Fast forward 1.5 years, she went to one session but didn't like it, and we've had lackluster bedroom activity once that I could tell she didn't really want but felt obligated. She had started saying she may be neuter. Since the new year, we've sold our starter home and moved into a bigger detached home with the intention of starting a family one day. I've also started up own business and have been very busy the last 3 to 4 weeks with it. I started noticing some unusual behavior from her the past 3 weeks, hiding her phone screen, turning off Find My Friends app. She also started voluntarily working out of a new building at her work, and mentioned she gets along with the staff there really well, and is going to work out of there every day. She asked if she could go out to a work party last week without inviting me, and I encouraged her. Turns out she ended up making out with one of the guys before coming home at 2 a.m. 2 days later, I went out of town for work from Monday to Thursday. It turns out that same guy came over the very night I left, and they fooled around in our family room, upstairs bathroom, and spare bedroom. I had no idea until last night while at party that we were to sleep over at. I saw the secretive texting again. I also went over to the hot tub she was in with a few female friends to check to see if she needed a drink, and the conversation immediately died and the others wouldn't really look at me. I thought it was a bit weird but went back inside anyway. After sitting there for a few minutes, my temptations got the better of me, and I went to look at her phone, hoping for nothing but finding everything. There was a full WhatsApp conversation stretching back 3 weeks with a phone number only contact with picture of an attractive black guy. The conversation had details of them flirting, their weekend makeout, the Monday night at our place, and some follow-up texting. The messages were extremely explicit, more so than she has ever been with me. I was immediately crushed, and I still am now. This is what I always fantasied sharing with her. I didn't want to confront her at the party and make a scene, preferring to do it at home. But when she came to bed, she could sense I was upset and forced me to tell her that I knew. She didn't even deny it, but immediately broke down into tears and apologizing, and saying it only happened the once. We ended up leaving and making the 2-hour drive back home, with her continually crying and apologizing, and me mostly silent and in shock. That has pretty much continued to this afternoon. She wants to go to counseling individually and together to find out what is wrong with her, and has been making continual promises. She says she dreams of having bedroom activity with me every day for the rest of our lives, just doesn't know how. Every time I want to say I am willing to try counseling and see if we can make this work, those messages pop back into my head, or I picture the two of them together. I just don't know what to do. I've gone for a 3-hour walk to try and collect thoughts, but got nothing. I can't stand to look at parts of my house anymore. Part of me wants to pack a bag and just leave. The other part of me wants to stay and not discard 1/3 of my life so far. She's never been his. He is just the guy that stays loyal like a golden retriever and provides her lifestyle and status among her peers. He is kind of a person who committing to a woman that didn't want him every day. My husband and I completed a long-distance move 3 years ago. This wasn't something I wanted, but it needed to happen for his career. Unfortunately, about 10 years ago, I became disabled by chronic illness that fluctuates from day to day and hour to hour in severity, so I'm not able to work outside of the home. I go to mental health therapy to help me cope with the strain of dealing with a significant chronic illness, and have been going consistently for several years. Anyway, my husband was promoted 1.5 years ago. For the first time ever, he's making a fairly high income by our standards. He supervises 2 women, one of whom we'll call Anna. Husband started talking about her a lot, beginning a little less than a year ago. Husband has always had female friends, and it has never been a problem during our 17 years of marriage. I've never made accusations, been jealous, nor felt I had a reason to worry. I have never once told him not to have friends or to have fewer friends. My gut told me to be worried about this friendship, but I said nothing because I convinced myself nothing would happen between them, and he's been a good and supportive husband. However, here are some of the things that have occurred. April 2022. Husband starts bringing up Anna constantly. He talks about how great she is at her job, and then he gets into her personal issues, like her divorce from 6 years ago, her lack of dates, issues with her teen, young adult children, her college classes, how lonely she is, and so forth. Husband keeps insisting Anna and I could be good friends. I've grown uncomfortable with how much he mentions her, so I really don't want to meet her. He delays our meeting. May 2022. Anna invites him to a baseball game that I can't attend. I was under the impression she would be there with other family members, but it ended up being just husband and Anna. Husband is her supervisor. This feels weird to me. Later in May 2022, Anna graduates from college. Husband goes to the graduation and brings her flowers. Husband insists she doesn't have that many people in her life, but the more he talks about her, she had several people at the graduation, and she goes out or has friends over to her house several times a week, and is out with friends most weekends. This whole Anna needing support is beginning to sound a bit far-fetched. I still say nothing, convinced I am just a hag and a nag. From June through October of 2022, Anna mentions at work that Steve would never want to date someone like her anyway. Husband insists Anna's pretty and will have no problem getting men. I was shocked he said that and felt it was crossing a big boundary with a subordinate. Anna calls and texts a lot outside of work hours, but never too late. The latest texts or calls that I know of generally end around 9 p.m. But husband will pull over to take her tearful calls. While I'm in the car, pull over to text her when she's upset about both work and life problems. Some of the conversations will take close to an hour with me just sitting in the passenger seat, doing nothing. Anna texts him from the airport before her vacation, upset about a job interview that didn't go well for her. November 2022. On election night, Anna is texting husband constantly because she's worried about the election. For the previous several days, they've been chatting at work for the last hour of the day about politics. Husband and I are both interested in politics, and she'll sometimes stay late at work for half an hour or more to finish the conversations. Meanwhile, during these days, husband has been too busy to reply to the couple of emails I've sent him. I generally don't contact him during the workday because he says he's so busy. He offhandedly mentions how young she looks. Later that month, husband tells me Anna is coming over to meet me and watch the World Cup. He doesn't ask me for any input. He tells me, she arrives, it's fine, and she's a pleasant person, but I really didn't like being forced into this meeting. The next day, husband is so concerned about how Anna is feeling about the meeting, and reassures her constantly that I like her. Hello. And the wife. Does no one care how I feel? Yet I say nothing because I convince myself I'm a jealous hack. December 2022 through today, January 2023. Anna is always having one career or personal issue after another. Husband makes sure to support her through all of these issues. In the meantime, he's distant at home, and I don't bother contacting him via email or text during the workday. I don't ever call him while he's working, and I haven't for many years. He's simply too busy to respond. I ask husband if he would consider marriage counseling, because I feel like things are really off between us. He says no and that I should continue to work on my own issues in therapy. A couple of weeks later, Anna tells him she's sad her children will be with her ex for the holidays. Husband invites her to come to Christmas Eve dinner at his parents' house. Thankfully, she declines. My birthday comes, which I don't like to make a big deal of, but I tell husband I wouldn't mind getting a birthday lunch the next day. I have to remind husband about my birthday lunch. He seems distant and annoyed about having to go. Right after, he goes into work on a weekend to catch up. He's gone from about 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. A few weeks later, it's Anna's birthday. Husband has messaged her daughters to get a picture of Anna for her cake. He purchased decorations and coordinated with Anna's best friend at work to make sure the right people were invited and the right music was played. I swear, you could have knocked me over with a feather. This is not something he has ever done for any other friend. He couldn't be bothered with my birthday, but he makes her birthday into an event. I'm in shock, but I still wonder if I'm too demanding and expect too much. I sit on my feelings for a couple of weeks. I finally bring it up, how awful this has all been for me, and husband is apologetic and insists he only views Anna like a sister, and that they're just friends, that he would never do anything and would never cheat. Although he does get in a parting shot that my misery and bitterness have been tainting our marriage for 10 years. Yeah, nice of you to tell me you felt that way for a decade, buddy. All this emotional effort husband has put into his friendship with Anna while acting like I barely exist has taken a toll on me. I tell him I'd like to separate for a while, and now he insists he wants marriage counseling. Nice. Just weeks earlier, this was all my problem that I was supposed to handle. I tell him fine, we'll get counseling, but I'll be staying elsewhere for a few weeks. He insists no, he'll leave, as this house is really set up well for my health issues and disabilities. As of yesterday, he's gone. Thank you for reading all this. I feel a bit crazy about this situation, and a part of me wonders if I'm out of line. Maybe I am, but I could still really use some support. He is definitely having an emotional affair, and it is likely heading to being physical very soon. She needs to contact a divorce attorney and give them evidence of the affair, and ask them to hire a private investigator. Her husband has no shame talking to this woman whilst she's sitting in the car beside him. She deserves better from her husband.